The RV's taillights burned like accusatory eyes in the rearview mirror as it accelerated away, leaving Jose Ramirez choking on Oklahoma dust and the bitter taste of his father's final words. "You're no son of mine anymore." At 19, with nothing but a backpack and a heart shredded like confetti from a cruel parade, he collapsed to his knees on the shoulder of Interstate 40, the endless ribbon of asphalt mocking his solitude under a sky bruised purple by twilight. "God, why me?" he whispered to the wind, but the only reply was the distant howl of a semi-truck, indifferent as the family that had just erased him from their road trip map. Jose had always been the glue of the Ramirez clan, the one who translated his abuela's Spanglish jokes at Thanksgiving, who fixed the leaky camper roof during their annual pilgrimage from dusty El Paso to the neon frenzy of Vegas. This year, though, the glue had cracked. It started with a stolen kiss behind the gas station in Amarillo, his lips brushing against Tommy's, his high school crush, the quarterback with eyes like polished obsidian, while the family fueled up inside. Tommy had bolted when Dad burst out, Bible in hand like a loaded shotgun. But Jose, he stood frozen, the taste of rebellion still sweet on his tongue. "You think you can parade that filth in front of us?" Dad's voice had thundered over the pump, Mom clutching her rosary like a lifeline, sisters averting their eyes. Abuela, bless her, had murmured something about God's bigger plan, but it was Dad who decided. No room for sinners on the Holy Family getaway. "Pack your shit and walk, Mijo. You're dead to us." The words landed like fists, each one bruising deeper than the last. By the time the RV peeled out, Jose was a ghost on the roadside, thumb out to hitchhikers who saw the rainbow pin on his backpack and sped past with narrowed eyes. He walked for hours that night, feet blistering in his Converse, the weight of rejection heavier than the desert heat. A trucker named Earl finally pulled over around midnight, his rig a sanctuary of country radio and lukewarm coffee. "Hop in, kid. You look like hell warmed over." Earl didn't pry, just dropped him at a Greyhound station in Tulsa by dawn. Jose bought a one-way ticket to New York with the last of his allowance, the city of dreams where maybe, just maybe, a queer kid from the border could breathe without apology. The bus ride blurred into a fever dream of regret and resolve. Flashes of family barbecues, Abuela's tamales steaming on the grill, his little brother Miguel's gap-toothed grin as they chased fireflies in the backyard. What would they tell the neighbors? That Jose had run off to chase trouble? The lie would fester, he knew, but so would the truth if he stayed. By the time the skyline pierced the horizon like jagged teeth, Jose's resolve had hardened. He'd build a life that didn't need their forgiveness. Or so he told himself, as he stepped off into the chaos of Port Authority, the air thick with hot pretzels and hurried strangers. New York swallowed him whole at first. Subway rats the size of chihuahuas, rent that devoured his barista wages like Pac-Man on steroids. He crashed on a queen-sized futon in a Bushwick walk-up with 3 other dreamers. A drag queen named Sasha who taught him to contour his cheekbones, a poet from Brooklyn who quoted Whitman over cheap wine, and a graphic designer called Leo who eyed him with a hunger that both thrilled and terrified. Jose worked doubles at a coffee shop in Williamsburg, slinging lattes to hipsters who tipped in crypto promises. His nights spent scrolling old family photos until his eyes burned. It was on a rain-slicked October evening, 2 years into his exile, that Douglas Hale crashed into his world like a meteor through a plate glass window. Jose was closing up shop, the neon open sign flickering like a dying firefly, when the door chime jingled against protocol. In strode Douglas, tall, broad-shouldered, with a jawline sharp enough to cut glass and hazel eyes that held the warmth of a Pacific sunset. He was soaked from the downpour, his Oxford shirt clinging like a second skin. But he flashed a grin that could disarm a SWAT team. "Sorry, man. One last Americano? I'm drowning in deadlines and delusions." Jose should have said no. Closing time was sacred. But those eyes pinned him like a butterfly to corkboard. "Make it quick," he muttered, firing up the machine, his hands betraying him with a tremble. As the espresso hissed, Douglas leaned on the counter, sharing snippets of his life. A rising architect from Seattle, transplanted to the Apple for a firm gig on Hudson Yards. "But between you and me," he confessed, stirring sugar like it was contraband, "I'm just trying not to screw up this second chance." They talked until the rain eased to a drizzle. Douglas's laugh a low rumble that vibrated through Jose's chest like bass from a passing lowrider. When the shop lights dimmed, Douglas walked him to the subway, their shoulders brushing in the humid night. "What's your story? Barista boy? You got that look. Like you've seen some shit." Jose hesitated, the old wound throbbing, but something in Douglas's gaze cracked him open. "Family road trip gone south. Real south. Let's just say I'm off the itinerary." Douglas didn't push, just nodded like he got it. "Well, if you're ever up for a detour, hit me up." He scrawled his number on a napkin, the ink smudging like a promise half-kept. Jose pocketed it, heart hammering, and rode the F train home replaying the moment. The way Douglas's fingers lingered, the faint scent of sandalwood cologne cutting through the coffee grounds. That napkin became a talisman. A week later, Jose texted, "Detour sounds good. Free Friday." Their first date was a disaster in the best way. Cheap ramen in the East Village that scalded Douglas's tongue, a street performer juggling fire who singed Jose's sleeve, and a walk through Washington Square where they confessed their fears under the arch's shadow. Douglas admitted his own ghosts, a conservative upbringing in Boise, a college coming out that shattered his parents' pearl-clutching world. They still send passive-aggressive Christmas cards. "Praying for your soul, like I'm a lost puppy." Jose laughed, bitter and buoyant, sharing fragments of his abandonment, the RV's taillights, the dust in his throat. Douglas listened, really listened, his hand finding Jose's in the crowd, fingers interlacing like puzzle pieces long separated. From there, it bloomed. Lazy Sundays in Douglas's Tribeca loft, blueprints scattered like autumn leaves, Jose sketching tattoos on his boyfriend's forearms with Sharpie, eagles soaring over cacti, symbols of flight and roots. They danced to Bad Bunny in the kitchen, hips swaying to reggaeton rhythms, Douglas's clumsy Spanglish earning eye rolls and kisses. For the first time since the roadside, Jose felt anchored, not adrift. Love, he discovered, was a quiet revolution. The way Douglas traced his stretch marks like constellations, whispering, "You're my North Star, Jose. Don't you dare fade out." But shadows lingered. Jose's phone stayed silent from El Paso, no calls, no texts, just the occasional spam from telemarketers hawking forgiveness he didn't seek. He'd built walls higher than the Brooklyn Bridge, but Douglas chipped at them with patience, coaxing stories over midnight tacos. "Your dad's a fool," he'd say, fierce as a mama bear. "He lost the best part of himself when he let you go." Jose would nod, throat tight, but the ache dulled in Douglas's arms, where vulnerability felt like victory. By spring, they were inseparable, Jose quitting the coffee grind for night classes at Fit, dreaming of fashion design that fused Chicano patterns with urban edge, Douglas landing a promotion, toasting with mezcal shots on their fire escape. Life in the city pulsed with possibility. Pride parades where they marched hand in hand, rainbows clashing gloriously with the gray, quiet nights at the Stonewall Inn, toasting ghosts who paved their path. Jose even got a tattoo, a tiny RV silhouette on his wrist, taillights etched in crimson, a scar turned talisman. Yet, beneath the romance, fissures formed. Douglas's firm demanded more, late nights in glass towers, schmoozing clients who eyed their joined hands with polite disdain. "It's business, babe," he'd sigh, collapsing into bed at 2 a.m. "I ask you." Jose understood, or tried to, burying jealousy in sketchbooks filled with unrequited lines. But when Douglas missed their anniversary for a pitch in Chicago, the old abandonment echoed, "You're dead to us." He paced the loft, phone in hand, thumb hovering over Dad's number for the first time in years. No dial. Instead, a text to Douglas, "We need to talk. Don't make me the idiot waiting again." The fight erupted like a summer squall when Douglas returned, accusations flying like shrapnel. "You're projecting your family crap onto me," Douglas shouted, voice cracking. Jose fired back. "Maybe because you're starting to feel like them, always second to something else." The words hung, poisonous, and in the silence, Douglas's face crumpled. "I love you, Jose. More than blueprints, more than Boise's bullshit. But if you can't trust this," he trailed off, eyes glistening. They made up in the wreckage, bodies tangled in sheets damp with sweat and tears, but the crack had spiderwebbed, fragile as fine china. Summer brought heat waves and harder truths. Jose's designs caught an agent's eye, a capsule collection blending serape weaves with streetwear swagger, and suddenly, he was the one jetting to LA for meetings, leaving Douglas to microwave dinners alone. Role reversal bred resentment. Douglas's texts grew curt, laced with subtext sharper than a switchblade. "Kill it out there. Miss you." But Jose sensed the undercurrent, the fear of being left behind mirroring his own. Then came the betrayal, swift as a sucker punch. It was a humid August night, Jose back early from the coast, key turning in the loft door like a confessional. Laughter spilled out, familiar, flirtatious, from the bedroom. He froze, heart plummeting like an elevator in freefall. Peering through the crack, he saw Douglas on the bed, shirt unbuttoned, entangled with Alex, the firm's golden boy intern, lips locked, hands roaming like thieves in the night. The world tilted. Jose backed away, silent as a shadow, fleeing to the fire escape where the city lights blurred through hot tears. Not again, his mind screamed, the RV's taillights flashing in memory's high beams. He didn't confront them, couldn't, not yet. Instead, he packed a go-bag, crashing at Sasha's, the drag queen's arms a fierce hug around his shattering frame. "Honey, men are like buses, another one's always coming. But you're the whole damn fleet." Days blurred into a haze of rage and rum. Douglas's calls went unanswered, his voicemails a litany of pleas. "It was a mistake, Jose. One stupid night. I swear, you're my everything." But the lie festered. Alex wasn't a one-off. Whispers from mutual friends painted a pattern, late meetings that smelled of cologne and deceit. Jose's trust, hard-won, lay in tatters, mirroring the family rejection he'd armored against. In the wreckage, Jose turned to the one thread he hadn't severed, his art. He poured the pain into fabric, shredded denim patched with vibrant threads, a metaphor for mended hearts, and his collection debuted at Fashion Week to stunned applause. Critics raved, "Ramirez's work bleeds authenticity, a raw cry from the margins." Standing under the tents, spotlights hot on his skin, Jose felt a spark of rebirth. Douglas showed up in the front row, eyes haunted, but Jose turned away, the wound too fresh for olive branches. Autumn leaves turned the parks to fire, and with them, Jose's resolve cooled to steel. He moved to a studio in Soho, walls lined with mood boards and memories boxed like toxic waste. Dates came and went, flings with artists who sketched his scars, but none stuck like Douglas had, a ghost in every mirror. Then, on a crisp November morning, as he sipped black coffee in a corner cafe, his phone buzzed with an unknown number. El Paso area code. Heart in throat, he answered. Jose? S2 Papa. Dad's voice, gravelly with age and something softer, regret, crackled through the line. We've been idiots. Miguel's getting married next month. He wants his big brother there. We all do. Silence stretched, taut as a high wire. Jose's mind reeled. The RV, the dust, the years of radio silence. Why now? He managed, voice steady despite the storm inside. Dad exhaled, heavy. Cancer, Mijo. Abuela's not got long. And we see now what we lost. Please, come home. The plea hung, a lifeline or a noose. Jose glanced out the window at the bustling avenue, strangers weaving like threads in a loom. Home wasn't a place anymore. It was the man he'd become, resilient and unbowed. But blood called, insistent as a heartbeat. He booked the flight that night, Douglas's unanswered texts a dull ache in his pocket. The Southwest stretched below like a healed scar as the plane descended into El Paso, the sun baking the Rio Grande in gold. At the airport, Miguel waited, older now, arms open wide. Bro, you look like a damn rock star. Their hug was fierce, unspoken apologies in the squeeze. Mom hovered, eyes red-rimmed, rosary clicking like Morse code. Dad stood back, hands shoved in pockets, but when Jose met his gaze, there was a nod small, seismic. The house smelled of Abuela's pozole, steam rising like prayers. She lay in the living room, frail as tissue paper, but her eyes lit when he knelt. Mi Guerrero, she whispered, fingers tracing his tattoo. You flew. Like the eagle. Tears came then, collective, cathartic. Over tamales that night, stories spilled, Dad's quiet therapy sessions, Mom's pride flag hidden in the attic, Miguel's own questions about identity. We were scared. Jose, Dad admitted, voice cracking. Of the world. Of losing you to it. But we lost you anyway. Forgiveness wasn't fireworks. It was embers, slow burning. Jose shared his life. The runway triumphs, the loft heartbreaks, Douglas's ghost lingering like smoke. Love's messy, he said, but it's mine. They listened, really listened. The table a bridge over chasms. Weeks blurred. Abuela's vigil. Her hand in his as she slipped away at dawn, the desert wind carrying her spirit like dandelion seeds. At the funeral, under a sky vast as redemption, Jose spoke, she taught us family isn't blood, it's choice. And we choose each other, flaws and all. Dad pulled him aside after, envelope in hand, photos from the road trip. Jose's face circled in red. A note, our detour. Always. Back in New York. Snow dusted the streets like fresh starts. Jose's phone lit with Douglas's number. A final text. Saw your show. Proud. If there's space. He paused, thumb hovering, then typed, maybe, but on my terms. The send button clicked like a key turning. In the end, home was a mosaic, shards of El Paso sun and Manhattan grit, family reclaimed and love rekindled on equal ground. Jose stood on his balcony, city lights winking like conspirators, and for the first time, the tail lights in his memory glowed not red with rage, but amber with arrival. He'd been cut out once, but roots, like rivers, always find their way back. The reconciliation didn't erase the scars. It just taught Jose how to wear them like badges of honor. Back in the loft, now his sanctuary of silk swatches and succulents, he navigated the Douglas minefield with the caution of a bomb tech. Their first post-betrayal coffee was at that same Williamsburg spot, the air thick with espresso and unspoken indictments. Douglas arrived early, fidgeting with a paper napkin, his architect's poise cracked like fault lines in concrete. "I fucked up," he started. No preamble, eyes locked on Jose's like a lifeline. Alex was an escape. The pressure, the firm, they made me feel small, and I hated it. But you make me whole. Jose sipped his latte, the foam bitter on his tongue, weighing the words against the memory of that bedroom door ajar. "Whole's a start," he replied, voice even. "But trust? That's the foundation. And you dynamited it." They talked for hours, raw as open wounds, Douglas admitting the pattern, nights blurred by bourbon and boredom, Jose confessing his fear of abandonment, rooted deep in Oklahoma dust. "I won't be the roadside casualty again," he said, firm. Douglas nodded, reaching across the table, fingers brushing tentative. "Then let's rebuild. Brick by brick. No more shortcuts." It was tentative tango from there. Dinners where silences stretched but didn't snap. Walks in Central Park where fallen leaves crunched underfoot like fragile truces. Douglas showed up to Jose's next fitting, holding a bouquet of sunflowers that echoed El Paso's fields, their petals a yellow apology. "For the light you bring," he murmured, and Jose, against better judgment, let him in. Love's return was slower, sweeter. Lazy mornings tangled in flannel sheets, Douglas's breath warm against his neck as they planned escapes. Weekends in the Catskills, where fog-shrouded hikes mirrored their foggy hearts. Jose designed a scarf for Douglas, cashmere threaded with hidden RV motifs, a nod to survival. "Wear it when you miss me," he teased. But the gift sealed something, a vow to navigate the detours together. Meanwhile, the family tether pulled taut. Miguel's wedding was a whirlwind of marigolds and mariachi, the border town blooming under string lights strung like stars. Jose walked his brother down the aisle, the church pews packed with tios and tias who'd once whispered judgments but now clapped with genuine fervor. Dad cornered him at the reception, beer in hand, mustache twitching with nerves. "Proud of you, son. For forgiving. For flying." The words landed soft, a balm on old burns. Later, under the desert moon, Mom pulled Jose into a dance, her steps light, his heavy with history. "We prayed for you every night," she confessed, tears salting her smile. "Not to change, but to thrive." He held her close, the salsa rhythm syncing their heartbeats, and for a moment, the RV's engine roar faded to a purr. Abuela's absence lingered like incense smoke, but her legacy bloomed in small graces, her recipe book open on Jose's counter, pages dog-eared for family brunches where Douglas charmed with his earnest attempts at guacamole. "Too much lime?" he'd ask, grinning sheepishly, and Jose would kiss the doubt away, whispering, "Perfect. Like you." But harmony's fragile, and cracks reappeared with the new year. Douglas's firm-eyed expansion, Seattle, his old haunt, calling like a siren's song. "It's a lead architect spot," he explained over takeout pad thai. Chopsticks paused midair. "Stability. For us." Jose's fork clattered, appetite fleeing. "Us? Or your ghost town redemption?" The fight simmered low, accusations bubbling. Douglas accusing Jose of clinging to past hurts, Jose firing back about patterns unbroken. In the heat, truths surfaced. Douglas's fear of commitment rooted in Boise's Bible Belt, where queerness was whispered sin. Jose's terror of loss, amplified by family fallout. They paused on the precipice. Therapy apps downloaded in truce. Sessions via Zoom where a soft-spoken shrink unpacked their baggage like customs agents at JFK. Spring thawed the ice. A trip to Fire Island, where dunes whispered secrets and waves crashed like applause. There, on a blanket striped with rainbow, Douglas proposed not with a ring, but a blueprint. Their dream home, sketched in pencil on linen paper, a loft in Brooklyn with a studio for Jose, a workshop for Douglas, windows framing the bridge like a promise. "Build with me?" he asked, voice husky. Jose traced the lines, heart swelling. "Yeah." From the ground up, the wedding back in El Paso was intimate, a blend of cultures. Douglas in a tailored guayabera, Jose in a suit embroidered with eagle feathers, vows exchanged under a chuppah draped in serapes. Dad walked Jose down the aisle this time, grip firm, eyes misty. "You chose well, Mijo." Miguel toasted with tequila shots, sisters giggling over cake, the yard alive with laughter that drowned old echoes. Life post-vows was a rhythm. Jose's line launching in boutiques from Soho to Santa Fe, fabrics that told tales of resilience. Douglas consulting remotely, his firm bending to his boundaries. They adopted a mutt named Reno, scruffy as their start, loyal to the bone, and weekends became rituals. Farmers markets in Union Square, where Douglas haggled for heirloom tomatoes like a pro. Yet, humanity's weave includes frayed threads. When Dad's health faltered, prostate scare, the doctor said Jose flew south, Douglas in tow, their hands linked through turbulence. In the hospital's sterile hum, Dad gripped Jose's palm, voice weak. "Didn't think I'd live to say it, but thanks for coming back. For showing us grace." Douglas stood sentinel, fetching coffee, his presence a quiet anchor. Abuela's garden, overgrown but enduring, became their therapy, weeding thorns side by side, Jose sharing stories of her wisdom, Dad unburdening regrets. "I was scared of the devil in you," he admitted, trowel pausing. "But it was my own fear staring back." Forgiveness flowered there, in dirt-caked hands and shared silences. Back east, Jose mentored queer youth at a Harlem center, his story a beacon. "They cut me loose, but I learned to sail." Douglas joined, sketching tiny homes for runaways, his lines precise as his love. Pride that year, they led a float, RV replica decked in glitter, taillights pulsing to EDM, a defiant reclaiming. Years layered like patina on bronze. A son, adopted from foster care, with curls like Jose's and eyes like Douglas's, named Mateo after Abuela's favorite saint. Family trips now loop them all, cross-country in a hybrid van. Stops at diners where Mateo finger-painted rainbows on placemats. No abandonments, only arrivals. One dusk on Route 66, pulling over at that fateful stretch. Jose hoisted Mateo onto his shoulders, Douglas snapping Polaroids. "This is where Daddy became brave," he told the boy, wind whipping words away. Dad, silver-haired in the passenger seat, chuckled. "Nah, kid. This is where we all did." The sun dipped, painting the highway gold, and Jose leaned into Douglas, their family a constellation against the fading light. "Cut out once. Begged back always loves road. Winding but true." Mateo's laughter echoed through the Brooklyn brownstone like wind chimes in a gale, a sound that still caught Jose off guard with its unfiltered joy. At 5, the boy was a whirlwind, chasing Reno through the living room, his tiny feet thumping against hardwood floors polished by years of hurried mornings. Jose watched from the kitchen island, sketchpad open to a half-formed design, a child's jacket, vibrant with embroidered coyotes howling at urban moons, blending his heritage with the city's electric pulse. Douglas emerged from his home office, tie loosened, sleeves rolled to reveal the faded RV tattoo Jose had inked during a tipsy anniversary. "What's the chaos today?" he asked, scooping Mateo mid-leap, the boy's giggles bubbling like soda fizz. "Park? Or that ice cream truck that's always just around the corner?" Jose arched a brow, smirking. "Last time, it was 3 blocks. We ended up in Queens." But he relented, because their rhythm, honed over a decade, was the life he'd clawed from ashes. The park was alive with autumn's palette, maples aflame, vendors hawking roasted chestnuts that perfumed the air like nostalgia. Mateo darted to the swings, Douglas pushing with exaggerated grunts, while Jose settled on a bench, phone buzzing with a text from Miguel. "TIA's asking when you're visiting. Bring the rugrat. Abuela's garden needs more hands." He smiled, thumbing a reply, the pull of El Paso ever present, a gravitational hum. But beneath the domestic bliss, undercurrents stirred. Douglas's firm had hit a rough patch, recession whispers, clients balking at woke designs, and his late nights stretched longer, shadows under his eyes deepening like trenches. Jose noticed, of course, the distracted kisses, the sighs over blueprints marked with red ink. "Talk to me," he'd urge over dinner, Mateo's chatter a buffer. Douglas would wave it off. "Just stress, babe. We'll weather it." But the words rang hollow, echoes of pre-betrayal dodges. It escalated one February evening, snow blanketing the city in hush. Jose returned from a pop-up shop in Chelsea, arms laden with fabric swatches, to find Douglas pacing the loft, phone clutched like a grenade. "They offered me the Seattle gig again," he blurted, halting Jose's step. "Full partner track. Salary bump that could fund Mateo's college." The air thickened, charged as a storm front. Jose set down the bolts, heart sinking. "And us? We pack up the life we built here." Douglas deflated, sinking onto the couch. "It's not forever. A year. Tops. Think of the stability." Stability, the word twisted like a knife, dredging up roadside dust. "Stability for who?" Jose shot back, voice rising. "You chasing Boise ghosts again? Or me? Raising our kids solo while you network?" Mateo stirred in his room, whimpers filtering through the wall, and Douglas's face crumpled. "This isn't about that. It's about us winning." The argument fractured into shards, Jose hurling the betrayal like a Molotov, Douglas countering with visions of white picket fences in the PNW. By midnight, they slept back to back, the bed a DMZ, Reno whining at the divide. Morning brought truces, pancakes for Mateo, apologies over coffee. But the rift lingered, a fault line primed to quake. Jose threw himself into work, channeling fury into a new collection. Detours, pieces deconstructing abandonment. Ripped seams mended with gold thread, Kent-inspired patches over denim wounds. It debuted at NYFW to fervor, buyers from Barney's snapping up racks. Vogue dubbing it a queer odyssey in cloth. Standing ovation, flashes popping like gunfire. Jose felt invincible, until he spotted Douglas in the wings, clapping with haunted eyes. Post-show drinks at a rooftop bar, champagne bubbling like suppressed sobs. Douglas pulled him aside. "This is you, Jose, fearless." "I envy it." The admission cracked the ice. "Then stay," Jose whispered, wind whipping his collar. "Fight for us here." Douglas hesitated, then nodded, the Seattle offer evaporating like morning fog. But victory tasted bittersweet. Trust's rebuild was ongoing, a daily devotion. Spring bloomed with distractions. Mateo's kindergarten plunge, finger paints turning the fridge into abstract gallery. Family visited, El Paso crew descending like locusts, TIAs stuffing the freezer with enchiladas, Dad teaching Mateo chess on the rug, his moves deliberate as confessions. Checkmates like life. Mijo, he'd tell the boy. Sometimes you lose to win bigger. Jose overheard. Throat tight, the lesson landing layers deep. Yet, betrayal's echo resurfaced in insidious ways. A work trip to LA unearthed old flames. Jose bumping into an ex-designer at a panel. Drinks turning flirty under hotel lights. He didn't cross lines, but the temptation gnawed. A what-if siren. Back home, guilt gnawed deeper. He confessed over wine, Douglas's jaw tightening. "I get it," he said, measured. "But damn, it stings." Therapy resumed. Virtual sessions dissecting the scar tissue, emerging stronger, scarred but supple. Summer's heat wave brought clarity. A road trip, echoing the past but rewritten. They loaded the hybrid with coolers and crayons, tracing Route 66 in reverse, from Chicago's windswept towers to the Grand Canyon's yawn. Mateo marveled at petrified forests. Douglas narrated history like a tour guide on steroids. Jose snapping photos that captured not just landscapes, but healing. A family silhouetted against rimrock sunsets, no taillights fleeing. At the Oklahoma pull-off, the site of Original Sin, Jose parked, the highway humming indifferent. He lifted Mateo to trace faded mile markers, Douglas's arm around his waist. "This is where I learned to stand alone," Jose said softly. Douglas squeezed. "And where we learned to stand together. No drama, just truth. The wind carrying away remnants of rage. Fall deepened bonds. Douglas pivoting to freelance. His designs eco-forward lofts for queer co-ops. Passion reignited. Jose's brand expanded. Pop-ups in Austin blending with Chicano art fairs. Threads weaving communities. Holidays fused traditions. Thanksgiving turkey alongside pozole. Hanukkah lights twinkling beside luminarias. Mateo blending blessings in bilingual babble. But humanity demands conflict, a reminder of fragility. Dad's cancer returned, aggressive this time, chemo's chill seeping through phone lines. Jose flew solo first, Douglas holding fort with Mateo via FaceTime forts. In the hospital's beige purgatory, Dad's hand trembled in his. "Regrets are heavier than tumors, son. Don't carry mine." Jose nodded, tears salting the sheets. "I won't, Dad." We're square. The vigil stretched, family rotating like sentinels. Douglas arrived mid-crisis, suitcase light, heart heavy. He cooked for the TIAs, his guac finally lime-perfect, earning nods of approval. When Dad passed at equinox, the sun set bleeding crimson over the Franklin Mountains. The grief was shared, a circle of hands, prayers in English and Spanish mingling like rivers. Back in Brooklyn, winter's grip loosened to renewal. Mateo's school play, him as a brave explorer, drew cheers, Douglas filming with shaky pride. Jose watched, chest full, the boy's courage a mirror to his own. Later, over hot cocoa, Mateo asked, "Why'd Grandpa leave?" Jose knelt, honest. "He didn't, buddy. Sometimes people get lost, but family finds the way back." Douglas caught his eye, a silent vow. Betrayals faded to footnotes. Love's narrative dominant, naughty, human, enduring. In the city's ceaseless hum, they thrived. Detours conquered, home a choice renewed daily. The cancer's shadow lifted slowly, like fog burning off the bay, leaving the Ramirez-Hale clan to navigate the brighter glare of survival. Jose threw a memorial garden party in El Paso that spring, marigolds bordering Abuela's plot, now joined by Dad's stone, engraved with Father, Builder, Returner. Attendees spilled across the yard. Miguel's growing brood chasing fireflies, TIAs trading tamale recipes, Douglas wrangling Mateo on a tire swing he'd rigged from mesquite branches. "Solid as your vows," Jose teased, handing him a cerveza, the bottle cold against sun-warmed skin. But grief's underbelly is anger, bubbling in unexpected fissures. Miguel cornered Jose by the grill, spatula paused mid-flip. "You forgive too easy, hermano. Dad hurt you bad, how do you just let it go?" The question stung, a hook in old flesh. Jose glanced at Dad's empty Adirondack, wind rustling its cushion. "Not easy. It's work. Every day, choosing peace over payback." Miguel nodded, eyes shadowed, his own marriage fraying, whispers of infidelity circling like vultures. "Wish I had your blueprint." Back east, the echo resonated. Douglas's freelance boom brought envy-tinged calls from ex-colleagues, temptations disguised as consults in Seattle speakeasies. One night, post-dinner bath for Mateo, Jose overheard a voicemail. Sultry laugh. "Miss our late nights, Dougie." Doors open. He deleted it silent, but the seed planted doubt's insidious sprout. Confrontation brewed over a weekend getaway to the Berkshires, foliage a riot of red and regret. Hiking the Appalachian Trail's edge, Mateo scampering ahead with Reno, Douglas slipped on moss-slick rocks, twisting his ankle. Hoisted on Jose's back like a reluctant rucksack, he grumbled, "Always the hero." "Ha!" Jose huffed, sweat beading. "Someone's got to carry the load when you flirt with old flames." The words detonated mid-stride. Douglas stiffened, demanding halt at a clearing. "That voicemail? I deleted it unread." "But you're policing my phone now." Jose unloaded, years of swallowed suspicions, the betrayal's half-healed gash. "Trust isn't blind faith. It's earned. Brick by goddamn brick," Douglas countered, wincing through pain. "And you're building walls, not bridges." "When does grace extend to me?" Mateo returned, stick-sword waving, oblivious arbiter. They hobbled to the cabin, silence a third wheel, ice packs and ibuprofen, no balm for egos bruised. Dinner was tense, pasta boiled to mush, wine flowing freer than words. Bedtime stories for Mateo blurred into adult confessions by firelight. Douglas admitting the pull of past validations, Jose voicing the terror of solo parenting amid loss. Dad's gone. And if you bail, he trailed, voice cracking. Douglas pulled him close, ankle throbbing solidarity. I'm here. Flaws and all. Let's kintsugi this shit. Mend with gold. The metaphor stuck. They're packed. Therapy in the city. Weekends journaling grudges into ash. Mateo's innocence grounded them. His crayon drawings of family adventure. Stick figures linked arm in arm. Taillights drawn as hearts. Jose incorporated it into a kid's line. Apparel for young explorers. Patches reading Detour Hero. Summer sizzled with momentum. Jose's brand snagged a collab with a queer indigenous artist, fusing patterns that turned runways into powwows. Douglas landed a co-op project in the Bronx. Affordable lofts for LGBTQ plus elders. Blueprints echoing his Boise redemption. Pride Parade saw them on a float reborn. The RV now a stage. Mateo waving from Douglas's shoulders. Confetti cannons bursting like buried shames. But conflict crested in autumn's harvest. A family reunion in El Paso unearthed buried mines. And Tio, drunk on pulque, cornering Douglas with Bible-thumping barbs. Marriage ain't right in God's eyes. Jose intervened. Fire in veins. Love's love. Tio. Deal or leave. The man stormed out. But ripples spread. Whispers dividing the clan. Miguel texting late-night vents about similar judgments in his circle. The betrayal cut deepest from within. Miguel's wife confessed an affair. The marriage crumbling like dry adobe. Jose flew down. Douglas minding the fort. To help pick shards. Over motel coffee. Miguel sobbed. How'd you rebuild after yours? I feel cut out. Jose shared the roadside raw. The years of slow stitch. Betrayal's a thief. But you're the vault. Guard your worth. They hugged. Brothers bonded in breakage. Returning. Jose channeled it. A capsule reclaim collection. Garments deconstructed and resewn. Taglines reading worn strong. Sold out in hours. Media buzzing. Ramirez hails ode to queer endurance. Douglas's pride swelled. But privately, he wrestled his own demon. A tempting offer from a Boise firm. Progressive rebrand promising legacy. The climax hit like monsoon flash. Douglas accepted. Sight unseen. For us, for roots I never planted right. Jose found the email open on the laptop. Heart plummeting. Boise? After everything. The loft erupted, furniture shoved. Voices echoing off exposed brick. You're running, Jose roared. Douglas fired back. Rooting. Can't you see? Mateo huddled with Reno in his room. Ears covered. The innocence shattered. In the melee, truths detonated. Douglas's fear of stagnation. Jose's of serial abandonment. The RV. Your affair. Now this. I'm always the one left holding the map. Jose wept. Douglas crumpling beside. I thought building there would bury the boy who hid. But if it costs us. He tore up the contract. Digital confetti. The choice a pyre of what-ifs. Reconciliation was crucible. Couples retreat in the Adirondacks. No screens. Just souls stripped bare. They hike to clarity, summit views where Douglas vowed. New York roots. With you. Jose exhaled. Then plant deep. No transplants. Vows renewed under pines. Rings exchanged anew. Mateo's drawing framed as witness. Winter wrapped them gentle. Holiday cards to El Paso bearing Mateo's art. Tae's replies laced with love. No barbs. Douglas's Bronx project broke ground. Elders toasting with Manischewitz. Jose's line graced Met Gala red carpets. queer icons swathed in his stories. Humanity's arc bent toward light. Miguel's divorce birth therapy, a custody co-op that modeled grace. Family trips looped inclusive, Pride in San Francisco, where Mateo marched with signs reading Love Wins Wheels. The RV replica towed behind, a talisman turned triumph. Through it all, Jose traced his wrist tattoo, taillights now lanterns. Betrayed, begged back. He'd forged a path luminous, love not flawless, but fiercely chosen, American epic in thread and timber. Decade's end found the Ramirez-Hale tapestry richer, threads frayed but fortified, colors bleeding into bold new hues. Mateo, 15, towered over Jose, lanky limbs, a mop of curls tamed by gel for school debates where he championed queer history, voice steady as his fathers. "You guys are my blueprint," he'd say over breakfast burritos, avocado smearing his chin, and Douglas would ruffle his hair. "Nah, kid, you're the upgrade." Jose's empire hummed. Detour Threads, a global name. Stores from Brooklyn to Bogota stocking lines that whispered resilience. Sustainable fabrics woven with stories. Collaborations with trans weavers in Oaxaca. He keynoted at TEDx. Stage lights hot. Recounting the roadside genesis. Cut out. Carved my own road. Turns out, the best maps are drawn in detours. Applause thundered. Douglas in the front row. Eyes shining like polished hazel. Mateo filming for his vlog. Douglas's legacy bloomed in brick. The Bronx co-ops expanded to a network. Hale Havens. Sanctuaries for elders who'd paved Stonewall streets, now sipping chamomile on roof decks overlooking the Harlem River. Retirement whispers tempted, but he waved them off. Plenty of plots left to build. Weekends. He mentored at the center. Sketches shared with wide-eyed teens. His Boise accent softened by years of city grit. Family orbits tightened. Miguel remarried. A quiet ceremony in the garden where Dad and Abuela rested. His new partner a poet with ink-stained fingers. El Paso reunions became annual pilgrimages. Caravans of cousins barbecuing cabrito. Mateo DJing reggaeton remixes that had TIA's two-stepping. No more whispers. The T.O. who'd stormed out returned chastened. A pride pin on his lapel. Apologies served with flan. Yet, life's drama demands encores. Mateo's first crush, a non-binary artist from Debate Club, sparked a household crisis. School bullies scrawling slurs on his locker. Echoes of Jose's high school hell. The boy came home bruised. Not in body but spirit. Collapsing into Douglas's lap. "Why them, Dad? Why hate?" Douglas held him. Voice rock steady. "Fear, Mijo. They see your light and squint." Jose joined, weaving tales of taillights and triumphs. The three a fortress against the fray. They rallied. School meetings with principals cornered like possums. Community marches where Mateo's sign, "Love's not a debate," went viral. The backlash peaked. A viral troll storm. Old Boise ghosts dredging Douglas's past affair in anonymous posts. Hypocrite architect builds on lies. The hits landed. Jose shielding his men with press statements fierce as flamethrowers. Our story's messy, like America's betrayals, rebuilds, beauty in the breaks. The storm broke with support Vogue profiles, celebrity retweets, a GoFundMe for anti-bully workshops that swelled to 6 figures. Mateo emerged Phoenix-like. His art show unmapped, selling out. Canvases of highways veined with rainbows. Pride that year. He led their float. Voice amplified. From cutouts to comebacks, we're unbreakable. Personal tempests followed. Douglas's knee gave out mid-sight visit. Surgery sidelining him to crutches and crankiness. Jose played nurse with flair, tray service of pozole, massages that turned amorous. "You're my pillar," Douglas murmured. Post-op haze. Jose grinned. "And you're my plot twist." Recovery bonded them deeper. Vulnerability's gift. Late-night confessions of aging fears. Dreams deferred. Jose's own crossroads loomed. A Paris atelier invite. Atelier life tempting with couture cachet. 6 months. He pitched over escargot in a bistro. Douglas's fork pausing. Echoes of Seattle debates. "We go as a family," Douglas countered. No hesitation. Or not at all. The compromise. Rotational residencies. Mateo boarding at a lycée with art electives. Their brownstone a stateside anchor. The city of light dazzled. Mateo sketching Eiffel silhouettes at dusk. Douglas consulting on Euro lofts. Jose draping models in fusion frocks that married sane chic with Rio Bend. But homesickness bit. Skype calls to Miguel's brood. El Paso sunsets missed like old friends. A midnight sane walk. Bridges arched like lovers' backs. Jose leaned into Douglas. "Worth the jet lag?" Douglas kissed his temple. Every mile. Return brought harvest. Paris acclaim catapulting detour to Milan. Mateo acing SATs with essays on queer cartography. Family swelled. A surrogate surprise. Baby Sophia arriving pink and wailing. Her cries a symphony of continuation. Christening blended rites. Rabbi and padre presiding. TIAs cooing in Spanglish lullabies. Years cascaded. Sophia toddling after Reno. Mateo off to RISD. His dorm walls papered in family Polaroids. Douglas and Jose. Silver-threaded now. Renewed vows on that Oklahoma shoulder, RV parked. Taillights haloed in sunset. From cut to core, Douglas toasted with mezcal. Jose clinked. Begged back. But we'd never leave. Legacy rippled. Mateo designing echo lines. Apparel honoring elders' tales. Sophia's first words, amor, and build. A bilingual bridge. El Paso plot expanded. Community center named Ramirez Return. Classes in design and drafting. Queer youth finding maps in mirrors. On a crisp November eve, mirroring that long-ago bus arrival, Jose stood on the brownstone stoop, snowflakes dusting his lashes. Douglas joined, arm linked, Sophia asleep inside. The city thrummed, taxis honking anthems, lights winking confessions. "Worth the detours?" Douglas asked, breath fogging. Jose turned, eyes tracing the man who'd mended his map. "Every goddamn mile. Home's not a place. It's us. In America's vast weave, dramatic coasts to heartland hollows. They'd scripted a saga, kith cut, kin reclaimed, love a luminous constant. Human, flawed, forever en route.